All right, welcome everyone to episode 2 of Campfire Tales. This week we're going to be chatting about my wife's first bull, and gosh, it was the year we got married, I believe, if memory serves me right. And yeah, it's an exciting one. So stay tuned. But before we get into that, I just want to tell everybody thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. To remind everyone, we're going to call it a video cast, I think, at this point. This video cast is really an opportunity for me to just share campfire tales with everyone, and rejoice around the fire, and connect with nature a little bit, but also to, in that connection, rather, is to help relinquish some of life's anxieties, stressors, things of that nature, and to promote mental health awareness and wellness, for everyone, really. Um, Largely for veterans, because I'm a veteran, but also for everyone, because I feel like we have a mental health crisis in this country, and I know everyone could benefit a little bit from just sitting around a campfire and telling stories about how they grew up, where they grew up, perhaps, or how they maybe connect with nature, and how that helps them kind of think about life's stressors, not necessarily getting to them any longer, and getting some relief from those uh, pressures, I guess, if you will, or if you want to call it, or uh, influences on our lives that we have and have to deal with now in the 21st century. So, again, I will say, I have big hopes for this video cast, and a lot of it comes down to getting enough subscribers to where I can hopefully start doing these on a regular basis with another person sitting by my side, still sitting around a campfire, but also supporting musicians. Music is another big thing for me in my life that helps me get distracted from the world that's going on around us and all of its chaos. Helps calm me down, helps me zen. And there's a lot of amazing artists in the world that just never get their break because whatever reason, right? They don't have the right connections, aren't seen by the right people. But I want to help bring some really awesome music to folks that are willing to chime into this podcast, or excuse me, video cast. So, without further ado, I'll jump into our story for this episode. But actually, one other thing I want to mention is, for those of you that don't know, I've written a few books. Nothing that anyone would probably ever find in a store or recognize if you saw it anywhere. But I'm really excited. I just finished writing another book. The audience is really intended to be uh, kids that are maybe not connected to the outdoors but could use a little inspiration, but also kids that are super into the outdoors, specifically hunting, that are interested in a really awesome story. The stories behind our recent moose hunt, and I managed to pull the story together relatively quickly while it was still fresh in my mind. And I just finished the manuscript over the last few days, and so that's going to be coming here soon. We'll be launching that alongside our moose hunting video when the time comes. Hopefully later this month. That's the goal. Actually, not later this month because it's September still, but hopefully later, late October. That's the target goal. So stay tuned for that. All right, now without further ado, we'll jump into this week's story. So it's the year that we got married. My wife and I, we actually got married around this time of year. So our anniversary is coming up, and specifically this year, we knew that we were going to be having the wedding, so we opted to hunt third season rifle elk in on the western slope of Colorado. So that way we could get through our wedding, enjoy all of the family and friends, and not really have to worry about uh, a hunting trip that year. So we set out to get things done. We went through the process. We put our tags in April, like everybody has to. And this particular year, we didn't actually draw our tags. Well, I take that back. I drew my tag because I just put in for a preference point, first choice, and I opted to get a uh, cow elk tag as my second choice. My wife, on the other hand, and my father in law, they were really interested in actually trying a new area. And so they didn't want to put in for the kind of traditional tags that we usually put in for our area. So they tried out or tried in the draw for a new area. Long story short, there, it didn't work out. So come leftover time, my wife and my father-in-law both picked up cow tags, which isn't uncommon. So that way, if we ever split up, we're not party hunting or breaking the law. We can always shoot whichever species, or excuse me, whichever sex animal we see, with the exception of me because I usually put in for an archery tag. However, this particular year, again, I opted to just go for a preference point, and our wedding was going to be around this time, so I didn't want to have any conflicts with incoming visitors, last minute preparations, et cetera, in order to try and archery hunt, then get married, and then also try and put in a rifle hunt later in the season. Well, the story unfolds that my wife and my father-in-law got their cow elk tags, but they also purchased over-the-counter bull tags for the area that uh, we typically hunt. It's an over-the-counter area for bulls, which is pretty cool because now, in theory, they have two tags, but they essentially have an either sex tag, so they can shoot a bull or a cow. And the best part about all this is that we had zero intentions of really putting in any kind of a rigorous hunt, knowing that we were just on the heels of our wedding. We had big things planned for a honeymoon, but actually got postponed to the year after uh, due to unforeseen circumstances, which is fine. But we ended up heading out, and we didn't have kids at the time. And the only vehicle, though, that we had was my wife's Ford Escape. This thing was a little beast. We had some really cool tires on it because we lived in the mountains at the time that were all terrain. And my father in law had uh, a pop up tent, or one of those pop up campers. So we all just opted to hang together, stay in the pop up, and he would pull that up, and we would just stay with him. But we would drive up in our Escape, which is a relatively small SUV, but again, it's at least all wheel drive, which is awesome. So we make our way up to camp, get things set up. Opening morning, we head out. Didn't really see a whole heck of a lot. Not a real whole lot of sign, not a whole lot of movement, action, nothing. It was just silent. And we got pretty concerned that it was going to be a long season of drought if we didn't change up our plans. Well, the family's camp is kind of near and dear to my father-in-law's heart, respectfully, which it is to everyone's in the family, not just his. But it was kind of the place that was home to him, and he always would go back there. And if there was anybody that was going to find elk behind camp, it was going to be him. So the second morning, we get up. I'm an early riser. I love getting up and hitting the trail before the sun even comes up, before even first light, so that way I'm in my spot and I can be ready to hunt if the opportunity presents itself. I can shoot whatever I see as soon as it's legal daylight out. Well, my wife is the complete polar opposite of me and loves her sleep. It's fine. It's I respect it. But for whatever reason, this morning my father-in-law was moving pretty slow too, and I don't understand why things unfolded the way it did. But I'm a firm believer things happen for a reason, and so we hit the trailhead. I don't know, maybe right at sunrise. We'll call it right at sunrise is where when we hit the trailhead to hike back up behind camp. Well, as you hike behind camp, there's a saddle that you kind of crest, and then you cut back to the west. And in doing so, it really kind of opens up to this. I don't want to call it a valley. It's more of a draw more than anything. But you can kind of see everything at that point. Well, the typical plan for each season hunting behind camp is we hike the trail up behind camp, go over the saddle, hike west, and then we just kind of listen and watch because the elk come from the river moving their way to the south to hit this north facing slopes to go bed. And on the way back, on the way through, there's some really awesome grass fields that they can uh, feed on before they get to their bedding areas. Well, we crest the saddle and we start heading to the west, not seeing or hearing anything, getting a little bit concerned. Well, my father-in-law's strategy was always to take 3 or 4 steps, look, and listen. I was very much so the opposite. And granted, I haven't had much, or at this time, I hadn't had much success hunting. So I was very much so a keep walking until you hear something kind of person or hunter. And, or I would hike till I got to a big open meadow and then kind of look around. Well, I learned from the best, which was my father in law, that if you walk just a little bit, you listen, see what's going on, your opportunities are going to go up because you're not going to blow everything out of there. You're going to be a lot quieter. You're going to actually sound a little bit more like elk or deer, and you're going to get better opportunities to have some success. Well, he's creeping along. I'm just kind of singing a song in my head because the day prior, I had no hopes of, or I had kind of diminished hopes based on not seeing any fresh sign or any even inklings that there had been elk in the area. So we were just cruising along slowly but surely and very steadily at this point. And again, singing the song. The song actually in my head was Sunny in 75 by, um, gosh, what's his name? Joe something. Anyway, doesn't matter. But I was singing that song for whatever reason. I had it stuck in my head. Well, as we were cruising around, well, not really cruising, as we were just kind of making our way around, the my father-in-law and my wife stopped, and my wife goes, "I see a bear." And I was like, "Nobody's seen a bear up here in years." The only bears that we actually anybody ever heard of up there were over at the neighbors because they had honey. They had honeybees, so the bears would go after the honeybees, but never adjacent to their property or on the national forest or BLM that is situated behind the camp. And so my father-in-law and I, we pull up our scopes, we start looking, and we're like, that isn't a bear, that's elk. And so we start kind of getting an idea of what is there. At first we see a couple cows, and then I got the glimpse of a bull. I was like, all right, babe, there's a bull. Let's let's get you this bull. So we all kind of figured out which animal we were going to shoot at. I was going to shoot at a cow. My father-in-law was going to shoot at a cow, and my wife was going to shoot this bull. We kind of waited for her to make the first shot before before we shot, so that way we didn't spook anything, and we just let her create the cadence for what shooting was going to happen. As soon as she cracked off her first shot, my father-in-law, both of us, took our shots. And amongst the excitement, to fast forward a little bit, my father-in-law and I completely missed our shots. Neither one of us hit anything. But my wife got a real good shot through the lungs on this bull. She racked in another shell and then uh, set off another shot. Well, come to find out, we had cousins that were up there hunting at the same time as us we didn't know about. And uh, next thing you know, we heard woohoo coming from the woods, and we had no idea. We were wondering, did we get something or did somebody else get something? Because there were so many shots that went off. There was a total of 5 shots that went off. Uh, we had no idea if more shots had gone off outside of ours or not. Well, it was cousins, and they were actually just on the other side of this ridge. After we come across the saddle, you go along the ridge. Well, they were actually just on the back side of it, getting ready to come up and over. We had no idea that they were there, or even hunting that hunting third season. So uh, they actually came over to us and were like, "All right, we heard you guys shoot. Did you get something?" They're like, "Well, we got to go see, but it looks like one of us got a cow." Uh, my father-in-law thought he got the cow. So, looking through the scopes and binoculars, it was really tough to tell because it's in a treed area, but it's those cedar trees or junipers. Everybody always calls them cedars, but really I'm pretty sure they're juniper bushes or juniper trees. And so we make our way down. Everybody's chatting, hooting, and hollering, and trying to figure out, did Katie get the bull, or did her dad get a cow? Did I get a cow? What did everybody get? Well, we started making our way up, and one of Casey's cousins had kind of got in front of us. And yeah, he wasn't far in front of us, maybe 10 yards, because we were all trying to just keep an idea as to where exactly we shot from. So we hung an orange hat, so we had an idea as to where we shot from, and we made our way across the draw in order to get to where we had shot at these elk. And they the one cousin goes, "You guys got the bull!" And my wife's face lit up with surprise, I think, and it was one of the fondest memories that I have of hunting with my wife and my father-in-law on a particular hunt. And this bull was absolute stud of a bull, nice 6x6, mature elk. Couldn't have asked for a nicer animal to harvest for her first bull. And not only that, but it was going to put meat on the table for us for the next part of a year. So we move along, get our pictures done, but my father-in-law and I looked at each other and kept questioning: did we actually shoot at uh, any cows? There were cows, and we both were 100% sure there were cows there. But I think in the anxiety and the excitement of my wife shooting, it kind of threw both of us off a little bit, because we had uh, indefinitely determined that we had both missed the cows that we were shooting. His was the lead cow, mine was the tail end cow. There was in total 5 animals in this little group that we were looking to try and harvest. And so no blood, no animals. We hiked around forever, trying to find those. While we broke down my wife's bull, and ultimately determined that we both missed due to the excitement of my wife taking the first shot. But she got it. We got it out, and one of the funniest parts, or one of the best parts of this whole story, is that we only had the Ford Explorer, or excuse me, the Ford Escape, and we didn't have a place to put the bull, so the only place that we could put the bull was on the roof rack, and we were definitely one of those interesting looking people going down I-70, driving in our Ford Escape with a big bull elk on top. And we got a lot of looky loos trying to figure out what the heck we had done or why we didn't have a truck. But hey, when you only have what you have, you deal with it in strides. And that's the story of my wife getting her first bull elk. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got encapsulated in the story, and you find your opportunities to sit around the campfire and share stories with more friends and family, because I sure do enjoy sharing with all of you that join us for this. If you can, if you like this and it resonates with you, whether it's the mission, the story, it doesn't matter. If you could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. It's really going to help us reach our goals of setting this thing really on fire, metaphorically, in order to help promote mental health and mental strength by connection through the outdoors. And even better, if you have a story you want to share, please put it in the comments below. And in the future, provided we can make this thing grow the way that we want to, I'd love to do these live over YouTube Live, where we invite guests and other folks in order to share their stories over the campfire. So, with that said, with no further ado, I'm going to close it out. Again, thank you for being here, and we really appreciate your support. Thanks so much.